Hey YouTube, I need to find a higher sidewalk. Today we're going to talk about Pease Old Grove. Smoking pipeliner, Diehl, made a video about this a couple months ago. I picked it up at a brick and mortar a couple weeks ago and was pleasantly surprised. So we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about a couple other topics, and with that, let's get to it. Alright guys, so here we are. We're going to talk about Old Grove today. Got a bowl packed up. When I watched Diehl's video, he recommends smoking out of a cob, and I say screw that. I'm going to smoke it out of a cob. Let's light it up here. And I'll tell you what I'm thinking. So I'm going to compare this to two other GLP's blends, Cairo and Diehl's Delight. And on a spectrum of light flavoring to heavy flavoring, I'd put Diehl's Delight toward the light end, I'd put Cairo somewhere in the middle, maybe just north of middle, and I'd put Old Grove way at the end. This is some really heavily topped, heavily flavored stuff. In the same vein that Cornell and Diehl's Monster Blend is heavily topped. And because I used to be a guy that didn't really like aromatics or top blends whatsoever, when I stepped into all three of these, you know, you'd expect, and I expected, that I would like Diehl's the most because it had the least amount of topping on it. What I found was the exact opposite. What I found was Diehl's had such little topping on it, I kind of found myself asking, what's the point? In other words, the pomegranate topping they put on these things, to me, it's not like salt. You know, salt is one of those condiments where just a dab will do you. Just a dash, just a pinch can really waken up and make a dish come alive and just kind of pull out flavors that were never there. It doesn't take that much. For some reason, this pomegranate topping is not like that for me. I either want a lot or none at all. When there's just a little bit, I'm kind of thinking, man, just get out of the way and let me enjoy the Virginias and the Burleys that are already in the bowl. So that was a surprise to me. When I opened this tin and smelled it, it was so strong that I thought, there's no way I'm gonna like this. And I'll be damned, I've been enjoying it. Another topic I like to talk about is all the videos and content on the golden days of yore. Not the tobacco, the golden days of YouTube hype community. You know, 2011, 2012, etc. I've been making videos for about a year and a half, but I've been watching videos for about 3 years. And out of all the content that I've seen on the topic, I'd probably agree with Copernicus Rex probably the most in terms of his observations and his take when he said, you know, this is not uncommon. When you look at the hobbies you've gotten into, when you talk to previous generations, family and whatnot, there's a common theme across life, which was, it was better back in the day, and it's not as good now. This even happens in politics. You know, let's make America great again. We always have that kind of childlike vision that it was magical before this time, and now it's not as magical. I think that's inevitable. It's probably 80% psychology, 20% reality. There's always exceptions, of course, but the one reason I gotta admit, I kind of feel the same way, but I just never said anything. And the reason I never said anything is because this is not a spectator sport. You know, we're all equal participants. So, you know, by saying it's not as good now as it was, since we're all a part of that, it's kind of like you kind of have to take it personally about, you're saying, well, I'm not as good as I used to be, or I'm not as involved as I used to be, or I'm not as, I don't reach out as much as I used to. So, and I know that's true for me as well. I'm not nearly as active in the community as I'd like to be, as I probably should be, as I once used to be, and so I'm as much to blame as anybody. And there's hundreds of people like me that have that similar feeling probably. So I guess I'll just kind of agree with Kevin. What he said is, you know, you can look at the past, but the past is the past. Just kind of focus on the present And you know, the people coming into the community this year, this will be the golden days for them. And 2 years from now, they'll be making videos talking about why can't we go back to the golden days of 2016. Believe it or not, it's almost hard to believe, but if you hang around for 2 years, I would expect to see some videos in 2018 on the exact same topic. So we're doing some How of the Wine next here, and I love Rat Ray blends. Next topic I'd like to talk about is piping mishaps. If you're one of those people out there that has ever dropped a pipe, scratched a pipe, damaged a pipe when you're trying to restore it, over-reamed it, took stain off, got a little too aggressive with the Dremel tool, whatever it is, don't feel bad. I have lost and damaged more pipes than probably 90% of the people out there, given the time frame that I've been a smoker. My batting average is not that great. And I think the lesson I learned, it kind of came to a head a couple days ago. I bought a couple pipes over IPSD, and I was walking down the street, and I promised myself I was not going to take any of these 3 pipes out of the house because I've had some mishaps just a couple months ago, and I was like, okay, I got these new 3 pipes, I'm going to protect them, I'm going to take care of them, make sure they never leave the house. And probably in the 2nd or 3rd outing, taking this pipe out of the house, I dropped it out of my mouth, and it fell on the concrete and got a couple nicks in it. I just sat there and I was distraught for like an hour. I beat myself up and felt really, really crappy. And then I just kind of had an epiphany and just kind of started laughing, at least internally. And it's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done trying to keep pipes pristine, trying to view them as works of art. I kind of changed my perspective and started looking at them as tools. And tools get dirty. Tools are meant to be scratched. Tools are meant to be used. And that was kind of a big moment for me, because although I do have a couple pipes that I would consider works of art, and those I won't take out of the house, the overwhelming majority of them, you know, this is a high contact sport. It's a high contact hobby. You're going to use these things, and they're going to get dirty. They're going to get nicked. You might drop one occasionally. You might lose one occasionally. And I think the lesson here is just don't take it too seriously. There's a lot of hobbies where you put a lot of wear and tear on the apparatus that you're using. What makes this a little more sensitive is because they're so damn pretty. When it's not like a bike or a car where you're not looking at it with, 6 inches away. You know, a bike or a car or a motorcycle, you're usually on it, or you're looking at it from afar, and there's so much surface area there, your eye can't pull out all the detail. So it's just naturally the hobby makes us want to stare at these pipes in excruciating detail, but it kind of ruins the fun, or it can ruin the fun if you do that. So the takeaway is, if you've had some mishaps, just take it with a grain of salt. Look at these as tools if you can, and just have fun with it. Alright, back to Old Grove for the last of the video. Smoking my new Sir Jacopo. Got this at over IPSD. Huge bowl. I love this pipe. And for the last topic, I want to talk about a video that Matches A60 made the other week, entitled YouTube Wannabes. It's really advice for YouTube presenters, which is what my comment is going to be about. In that video, he gave advice for YouTube presenters, or would-be YouTube presenters, people just starting out, and I couldn't agree with the advice more. And basically, to kind of sum it up, he was basically saying, map out the video you want to make. Have a beginning, have a middle, have an end, and know how you're going to end it, otherwise you're going to ramble. Couldn't agree more with it. At the same time, I think I've been able to do that maybe twice out of all my videos. I'd love to be able to do it. I just don't have the patience to do it, which is probably why I do so many takes in every single video, which is probably why this segment right here is probably the 10th take. Because when I'm walking out to a venue and when I'm sitting down and turn the camera on, it's almost like the camera itself is my legal pad. Like it is my scratch pad. And every take is kind of like trying to map out a video, and then you wad it up and you throw it in the wastebasket. I kind of get inspired, and the dialogue kind of comes to me in real time wherever I'm at. It kind of happens a little bit on the walk to the venue. It happens kind of while I'm sitting down, what I'm looking at, what the weather's like, when I'm smoking, when I'm drinking. I don't really get any inspiration sitting on the couch, like staring at a piece of paper, smoking a bowl and trying to make tasting notes, which I don't really do anyway. So I'd love to be able to do that, but I've never, almost never been able to do it. So for new YouTube presenters, I would say definitely try it. But if you find yourself like I do, just staring at a piece of paper and your pen hovering over it, and you're just going blank, it's like writer's block, then try the other approach, which is just turn the camera on, do multiple takes. And I think from every take that I do, I find a nugget that I can keep and then roll it into the next clip or the next shoot or the redo. And then that builds, and then that builds, and then that builds. By the time I get to 7, 8, 9 takes, then I think I have something kind of concise that I can film and then put into a video. The only downside is when you go back and load the card into your computer, you're looking at about 50 segments, and you got to pick the last one of each segment because you know that one's the best, because that's when you decided to stop and then move on to the next topic. And that's why I turn my camera almost every time after each piece. When I realize I got a good take, I'll turn the camera a little bit so that when I'm editing, I know as soon as the camera angle changed, I just go back to the last segment before the angle change, and that's my best take. Just a little trick that I've learned over time. It makes it a lot more efficient. Alright, so I am taking some of Mash's advice because I do need to get better at this. So I wrote my exit to the video on this envelope here. Let me just read it off. Alright guys, thanks for joining me. Really appreciate you watching. And until next time, y'all have a good one. Take care.